There's a level of discipline so intense it makes people uneasy just watching you. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to reach it. You've seen that person before, the one who never misses, who wakes up at the same hour every morning, moves with purpose, never skips a step, never slows down. While everyone else quits after a few weeks, they keep pushing. While others make excuses, they simply show up. And people look at them and whisper, "That's not normal." But it is. It's just rare. Because centuries ago, Zen monks in Japan discovered a system that created this kind of unstoppable consistency. They called it Guji, the practice that sustains itself. Once you understand how it works, you'll never fall off a goal again. But here's the truth. This system isn't for everyone. It demands you kill a part of yourself, the weak, distracted, comfort-seeking version that's been holding you back all along. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, tap like, and comment below the habit you're most committed to building. Let's see who's truly ready to change. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1: The Awakening. The story I'm about to share is about a man named Raphael, a brilliant programmer, sharp mind, promising career. But beneath all that success, there was one problem eating him alive. He couldn't stick to a single habit. Gym, 2 months, gone. Meditation, 1 week, forgotten. Books, he'd buy them, read a few pages, then leave them to gather dust. It was always the same pattern. Monday, full of fire. Wednesday, the excuses begin. Friday, surrender. Sunday, the same empty promises about next week. Raphael tried it all. Habit trackers, reward systems, accountability partners. Nothing worked. Because he wasn't losing to laziness, he was losing to something far more powerful, the hidden wiring of his own mind. Until one day, he discovered the secret behind how Zen monks could meditate for 8 centuries without missing a single day. And no, it wasn't willpower. It was something deeper, older, and far more terrifying. Chapter 2: The Secret of the Monks. In the heart of Zen temples, there's a rule so simple yet so profound, it rewires everything you think you know about discipline. It's called Jyoji, which means continuous practice without gaps. Let that sink in, without gaps. Since the year 1200 AD, every single day at exactly 3:30 a.m., a bell rings at the Eihai Temple in Japan. And since 1200 AD, every single morning, the monks rise. Not at 3:25, not at 3:35, exactly at 3:30. Do you know what never happens there? No monk lies in bed debating, should I skip today? That thought doesn't even exist in their minds. Why? Because they understand something most people never will. Your brain has 2 boxes for every decision you make: reversible or irreversible. Reversible commitments are fragile. They invite negotiation. Irreversible commitments, they just happen. When a monk takes his vows before the entire temple, he isn't promising to meditate. He's becoming a meditator. The moment his identity shifts, the inner debate dies. A neuroscientist from Harvard who spent 15 years studying habits discovered something fascinating. When you make your behavior public, your primitive brain interprets failure as a survival threat. In ancient tribes, losing status meant death. Your brain still runs on that same code. And that's exactly what Raphael discovered. He stopped making quiet promises to himself and started making public declarations. He wrote it down. I am a person who meditates 20 minutes every day at 5 a.m. for 90 consecutive days. He signed it, posted it, told everyone. His girlfriend laughed and said, "You're being dramatic." His coworkers joked, "Man, you're trying too hard." Perfect. Every doubt became fuel. Because now every morning he wanted to quit, he imagined the shame of telling them he failed again, that he was just another man who couldn't keep his word. On day 3, the real test came. The alarm screamed at 5 a.m., and his mind began whispering its familiar lies. You're tired. You need rest. One day off won't hurt. But this time, something had changed. The pain of quitting, of facing everyone and admitting he'd broken his word, was far greater than the pain of discipline. The public vow had done its job. It made failure unbearable. And yet, that's where the real challenge began. Chapter 3. The Internal War. Even with all the pressure he'd built around himself, Raphael was still at war every single morning. His mind was disciplined, but his body didn't care. It didn't care about goals, promises, or public declarations. It only cared about comfort. When it was tired, it wanted to sleep. When it was warm, it wanted to stay in bed. The vow had silenced the mental negotiation, but not the biological one. He was still fighting his own nature. That's when he discovered the monk's second principle, non-negotiable hours. Every day, people waste enormous mental energy on the same useless question. When should I do it? Now or later? Before breakfast or after? Each decision drains glucose from your brain, the very fuel you need to perform. You burn energy deciding when to move instead of actually moving. So Raphael made a choice, 5 a.m. Not because he was a morning person, not because he loved sunrises or silence. He chose 5 a.m. for one reason. The world was asleep. No messages, no noise, no excuses. That time wasn't about optimization. It was about elimination, eliminating every possible reason to delay. The first week was hell. His body rebelled, every cell begging for rest. That's normal. Your body is a machine built on patterns, and when you try to change those patterns, it resists. But then came week 2. Something shifted. Raphael began waking up 2 minutes before the alarm. His body, once an enemy, had started to cooperate. On the 14th morning, the alarm rang, and before he could even think, his feet were already on the floor. No thought, no hesitation, just movement. That's the hidden truth about fixed hours. It's not about finding the perfect schedule, it's about removing time as a decision. When you do something at random hours, your brain has to decide every single time whether to act. But when the hour is set in stone, the brain stops arguing. It adapts to the constant. But even then, a new problem appeared. Raphael's time was fixed, but his focus wasn't. Some mornings he'd meditate, some mornings he'd read, other days he'd do push-ups. His mind had found a new loophole. It stopped asking when and started asking what. 5 o'clock was consistent, but his practice was chaos. He'd eliminated the when, but not the what. That's when he stumbled upon Dogen's most controversial teaching, the one that breaks the modern mind. Repeat the same form every day until the mind surrenders. It's not about variety, it's about submission. The form becomes the master until you no longer need willpower, only obedience to the rhythm you've built. Chapter 4. The One Way. You think variety keeps life interesting, but in truth, variety is where consistency goes to die. Every time you change what you do, your brain has to make another micro-decision. Push-ups or burpees today? Which book should I read? How long should I meditate? Each tiny choice opens a crack, and through that crack, your old patterns sneak back in. So Raphael made a radical decision. He locked everything down. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading. Same order, same time, same rhythm. Every single day. It was his own personal ongo, 90 days of absolute sameness. His friend said he was becoming robotic. His girlfriend said he was getting boring. They didn't understand that boring was exactly the point. By the 3rd week, his mind started to fight back. Every morning it screamed, "This is stupid. You're not a machine. Mix it up. You'll burn out." But he didn't. Then came week 4, and something inside him broke. Not his discipline, his resistance. The inner noise grew quieter.
By week 6, he was halfway through his push-ups before he even realized he'd started. The practice had taken control. It was moving through him. Automatic, effortless, unshakable. That's what people never understand about consistency. It's not about willpower lasting forever. It's about repetition until willpower is no longer required. Your body learns the rhythm like a dancer memorizing choreography. Until it's not something you do, it's simply who you are. An MIT researcher who studied habit formation for 12 years discovered this truth. When you repeat an action in the same context for about 66 days, the basal ganglia take over. The behavior becomes automatic. You no longer decide to do it, you just do it. Then came the real test. On day 35, Raphael caught the flu. On day 40, he had to travel for work. This is where his old version of him and almost everyone else would quit. Sick day, travel day, just this once. Because most people believe consistency requires perfect conditions, but perfect conditions don't exist. And that's where Dogen's wisdom changes everything. He wrote that true practice must continue without even a single gap, because in that tiny gap, all your old patterns return. That's what saved Raphael. When everything went wrong, he remembered practice doesn't demand perfection, it demands continuity.
Chapter 5. Practice without gaps. The greatest killer of discipline isn't laziness. It's the all-or-nothing lie. You know that voice. If I can't do the full 20 minutes, why bother? If I can't do perfect push-ups, I'll just start again tomorrow. That lie creates gaps, and gaps are where your old self creeps back in, silent, patient, waiting for weakness. Look at any elite athlete, and you'll see something most people misunderstand. Yes, they take rest days, but those days aren't escapes, they're strategy. Planned, purposeful, intentional. Never because they don't feel like it, never because they're too tired. A rest day moves them forward. A skipped day drags you backward. There's a difference between resting and retreating. A river never stops flowing. Even in a drought, it may shrink to a trickle, but it never stops. Because the moment it stops, it's no longer a river. It's just a memory of where water used to be. Your practice is the same. The second you allow a gap, you're no longer practicing. You become someone who used to practice. Then came day 40, travel day. Airport at 4 a.m., meetings stacked from sunrise to sunset. No gym, no quiet corner, no perfect setup. But Raphael refused to break the chain. He did push-ups in an airport bathroom while people stared. Perfect. He meditated in the back of an Uber. He read on the plane between flights. Nothing was perfect, but everything kept moving. Momentum was alive. This was Gyoji, practice sustaining itself. That's when people started noticing the change. His coworkers said, "You're different lately." His friends called him obsessive. Someone even told him, "That's not healthy. Normal people don't do that." Good, because normal people get normal results. He wasn't chasing normal. He was chasing unbreakable. But what Raphael didn't yet know was that discipline doesn't just test you with the expected. It tests you with the storms you never saw coming, the ones no plan can prepare you for.
Chapter 6. Pre-solutions. Your child gets sick. Your car breaks down on the way to the gym. Your boss keeps you late at work. These moments destroy consistency, not because you're weak, but because you didn't pre-decide what to do when they happen. Every time life throws chaos at you, you're forced to make a decision under stress. And in that storm, your brain will always choose the path of least resistance. You won't rise to the occasion, you'll fall to your level of preparation. The obstacle wins because you entered the battle unarmed, but the Zen monks don't make that mistake. Their monasteries have survived earthquakes, wars, famines, yet the practice has never stopped. How? They don't decide what to do when disaster strikes. The decision was made centuries ago. When the meditation hall floods, they sit in the dining hall. When the dining hall burns, they meditate in the courtyard. No meetings, no debates, no hesitation. The bell rings and they move. Raphael began doing the same. He wrote down every obstacle that had ever broken his consistency and pre-solved each one. Rain, push-ups in the garage. Guests staying over, silent workout in the bathroom. Hangover, which shouldn't happen, 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, 1 page of reading. Every possible scenario had an answer. When X happens, I do Y. No thinking, no negotiation, only execution. This was more than habit protection, it was mental freedom. Because when your brain knows there's always a plan, it stops wasting energy deciding. It saves its strength for doing. A behavioral psychologist from Yale studied this for 20 years and discovered something remarkable. When you pre-decide your actions, you eliminate decision fatigue. Your willpower isn't spent on choice, it's preserved for execution. By day 70, Raphael had become something else entirely. His body began to move before his mind even caught up. He'd wake up and realize the push-ups were already done, as if the body had taken command of the mind. When his girlfriend's mother visited for a week, nothing changed. At 5 a.m., he did his push-ups in the bathroom. No noise, no excuses, just motion. Because the answers were already written. The practice continued. On day 90, Raphael completed his personal ongo, 3 months of unbroken practice. But this wasn't about a streak. Something deeper had shifted. He wasn't the same man who started. He had become what others feared to become, consistent beyond reason. When a friend told him, "Your discipline is scary," he smiled and said, "Good."
Chapter 7. The Transformation. When your discipline starts to make others uncomfortable, that's when you know you finally reached the right level. Because your consistency exposes their excuses. Your existence becomes living proof that what they call impossible is merely uncomfortable. That's why they'll label you obsessed. That's why they'll tell you to slow down, to find balance. They don't want you to stop for your sake. They want you to stop so they can feel better about standing still. But you're not doing this for them. You're doing it because you've discovered the truth. Consistency isn't about doing something every day. It's about becoming someone who can't live any other way. When you master the Goji system, your public declaration, your fixed schedule, your seamless practice, your pre-solved answers, you're not just building habits anymore. You're rewriting your identity. You stop being the person who tries, you become the person who is. And when that transformation happens, when the old self has burned away, people will stare and whisper, "How does he do it?" And your answer will be simple. I don't do it. I am it. That's the true transformation, not discipline, but death and rebirth. The death of your inconsistent self, the birth of your unbreakable one. The Goji system won't just make you better, it will make you different. Different in a way that makes others uneasy. Different in a way that commands respect without words. And when they look at you and say, "That's not normal," you'll smile because you'll know you finally arrived. If this message awakened something in you, if it shifted how you see consistency and discipline, subscribe to channel and turn on the bell so you never miss the next step in your transformation. Now tell me in the comments, what will your public declaration be? What habit will you build through the Goji system? Remember, the consistency that scares others is the only consistency worth having. If you've watched this far, thank you for your focus, your discipline, and your time. I'll see you in the next video.